Howdy! In this lecture, we will look at the waste of waiting. By the end of this lecture, you will know what it means to wait and/or be in queue, some common examples of the waste of waiting, and some general ideas that you can use to begin reducing the waste of waiting. Waiting is defined in one way as staying where one is or delaying until a particular time or something else happens. In the case of the waste of waiting, we can say it is any situation where a delay, idleness, or a stop occurs. While waiting is waste, one of the worst forms of waiting is when a customer is kept waiting. For example, a coworker may be waiting for information in order to complete an activity. A worker may be waiting for material in order to start their job, or a mechanic might be waiting on tools to do the work needed properly. When we look at these three examples of waiting, each of the people waiting is a customer of some type, and they are waiting for something that they may consider valuable. This form of waste is oftentimes more difficult to see than one might assume. Waiting is generally masked or falls into the hidden factory with overproduction, overprocessing, and various forms of busy work. For example, somebody may be waiting on a tool or information, so they reorganize an item, make extra of something else, read another message, or the best case scenario, simply wait. Why is this the best case, you ask? In the waste of waiting, when someone simply waits, the waste is visible, which then makes it easier to identify and begin to reduce or eliminate. There are many reasons that customers, suppliers, and people throughout the value stream are forced to wait. Some of the more common reasons can be linked to long process, setup, or changeover times, which, as you can see, results in machine downtime and people waiting. Another very common reason employees experience excessive waiting is due to unbalanced flow in processes and poor synchronization of each of the process steps. Layouts, such as the functional ones we have mentioned in other lectures, often contribute to long queue points too. This is because, more often than not, materials or information are placed in an in or out box or an area and then wait for others to come and move the items. In the service environment and offices, waiting can often be the result of incomplete documentation or approval queues that sit for a long time until somebody can say that what they have already reviewed is okay. As an aside, knowingly placing items or activities in a queue is like knowingly asking someone to wait somewhere in the value stream. This is one reason why one of the main contributors to the waste of waiting is the design process. Processes are often designed with waste in them. So, what happens when we wait? Well, in addition to extreme boredom, capacity is not being used to its fullest and, in fact, results in lost capacity. And as you know, lost capacity means overtime or more resources, which in turn results in higher operating costs. Finally, when you have to wait for a machine, materials, or information, you are stuck, and that means you lose your flexibility to do other things until the waiting is over. Let's now turn our attention to solutions. There are quite a few very effective methods of mitigating and/or dealing with excessive waiting in organizations. It is always important to first identify where waiting occurs within your value stream. The most effective way to do this, or make waiting visual, is to do just that. Make it visible. There are three ways that we recommend making a process visual. Walk the Gemba and take notes, record the process with video, or map the value stream out. When you do this, you can identify weight points and plan for their mitigation. Making a process visual will help you see the hidden factory, rather than living the process in repetition day in and day out. This will give you the ability to take a closer look at bottlenecks and constraints that are often hidden within the flow of materials and information. After identifying where the weighting occurs, you can next attempt to understand why that weighting is happening. One of the more common reasons is that workloads are not balanced. A countermeasure is to balance the workload of each process step's cycle time with the takt time. This can help each employee ensure they are working to their full capacity and not being overloaded, which often is a precursor to workloads and lines falling out of balance. Another very common reason that queue points build up is due to organizations building to a forecast or a predetermined schedule. This, as we have mentioned before, is also known as a push system. Working towards a more pull-oriented environment creates a sense of awareness as to what is needed, when it's needed, and how many are needed. In other words, products are created just in time based on real customer demand. It is important to note that once you clearly understand what the issues are that are contributing to your weighting, you can then begin to establish solutions and measurements to ensure that the weighting does not occur again. One measurement that is a helpful gauge of the flow of materials is takt time. Takt time is the rate at which products or services need to be fulfilled to keep up with customer demand. As mentioned earlier, takt time also assists in balancing the flow of work and can be a powerful ingredient for an organization to reach single-piece flow, which will reduce and eliminate weighting. A few other common methods of reducing the waste of weighting is to define and establish standard work procedures and processes that allow workers to make decisions when things go wrong. Visual management can assist an organization with this. Heijunka is another powerful lean technique that helps reduce weighting. Heijunka is a Japanese term that can be translated as product smoothing or load leveling. The Heijunka technique is used to assist and in many ways facilitate just-in-time production. Finally, taking a deep look at the flow of your organization may help you to remove bottlenecks and move towards a more efficient flow. Looking at flow can also help you to synchronize processes that may be interdependent. Remember, these countermeasures are not all-inclusive. The photo in your handouts entitled General Solutions is a process that you can use with some suggestions. But every situation is different. As you reveal the waste of weighting in your organization and in your life, you should consider the practices of others, but still be open to innovation for your unique circumstances. We'll see you in the next lecture.